Politico reports that there is an actual debate taking place within the Democratic Party in regard to whether or not they should fight aggressively to protect women's reproductive rights. I'm not even kidding, it's a debate. And apparently there are the individuals within Congress who think, no, it's really important that we fight for reproductive rights because young voters who really turn up and make all the difference in elections for us might not show up if we don't support the issues that they want us to support. Congratulations, you just made the most obvious statement ever. But here's what Politico writes. The fear is that the youngest voters who smashed participation records in the last 2 elections and backed Joe Biden by a 25-point margin in 2020 won't vote in the midterms. Some Democrats stress that the Biden administration and Congress need to do more to show their rage and willingness to take significant action to mirror the passion seen among young people, 3/4 of whom support abortion being generally legal. Now, on young Democratic voters and their views on abortion, apparently there's a little bit of a disconnect between the young voters who honestly have everything on the line when it comes to reproductive rights by the very nature of them being young and fertile, versus older Democratic voters who are typically in their elderly period of life and don't have to worry about unintended, unwanted pregnancies. So not only did 3/4 of them say, meaning the young voters, abortion should be generally legal, 30% said that it should be legal in all cases. But according to Pew Research, 54% of voters over 65 said abortion should be legal by contrast. So the real question here is, for the Democrats engaging in this debate, legislatively speaking, do we care at all about these young voters, or do we just keep appealing to older voters who don't really care as much about this incredibly important issue? And look, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The mainstream Democratic Party is full of corrupt, self-interested, narcissistic losers who have shown us, who have made it very clear that they really don't stand for a damn thing. On one hand, they pretend to care about reproductive rights. On the other hand, you've got Democratic leadership in the form of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn showing up to campaign for an anti-choice loser like Henry Cuellar in Texas when he really had a progressive challenger that they could have supported instead and made all the difference by supporting her instead. This is what they stand for. This is what Democrats are. They're spineless, feckless, corrupt losers. They just are.
All right, so to give you a sense of how devastating this fact is, that young people are dispirited by the lack of action in Democratic politics. I know most mainstream Democrats that watch MSNBC and CNN will be like, oh, young people, it's their fault. Oh, it's okay, we'll just get rid of them. We just ignore them.
All right, good luck with
that. If you ignore them, you will lose all elections. So that's a fact. Let me explain why that's a fact. So in Virginia, Biden won the state by 10 points over Trump. But Youngkin, the Republican, beat Terry McAuliffe, the Democrat, later in the governor's race. And why did he beat him? Because the electorate was 12% whiter and 8% older. That's all it took. 8% older and you lose. In fact, the Democratic pollster then explained, if that happens in the swing states in 2024, we will lose every single swing state. You will lose every single swing state, Democrats, if you do not deliver something, first of all, for anyone, but also specifically for younger voters. So then I know what you're gonna do next, you morons. You're gonna blame younger voters.
Yep, 100%.
Why don't you actually do something for younger voters when you have power, instead of just constantly doing, oh, donors, we're gonna help the donors. And then, oh, it's young people's fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault for doing nothing.
100%.
And by the way, none of the media ever tells you that. This article, it has important, interesting facts, we bring it to you, but it's also trash. So everything in the article is framed as, it's young people's fault. Democrats, of course, can't do anything. It's just an assumption baked into the article. And the rest is about how blaming young people for not voting. So let me just give you 2 quotes here.
Okay.
That's important. So they go to this Democratic pollster, Terrence Woodbury, and very average, normal Democratic pollster, and he says, even so, Democrats think this kind of political theater is what voters, especially Gen Z, need to see to value signal that they're willing to fight for them.
Yeah, we're not interested in theater, okay? We get plenty of theater from Democratic leadership. We get the kente cloth Neil sessions, we get the poetry readings from Nancy Pelosi. We ain't interested in theater. We're interested in action. That is what people are interested in.
And do you get what the Democratic consultants are telling the Democratic politicians?
Just virtue signal to your young voters, but value signal. They renamed it value signal. We're not interested in value signaling. We're interested in elected lawmakers who were elected by people into these positions of power to actually represent their best interests, to do just that. Represent their best interests, counter the damage and destruction and the suffering that's being implemented by the Republican Party. You know, the issues that you campaigned on. The issues you campaigned on. How about you carry out those policies? But they don't. They love the convenient Henry Cuellar excuses. They love the convenient Joe Manchin excuses. Never mind the fact that LBJ managed to get the Civil Rights Act passed at a time when racism was like front and center, okay? Didn't matter. He would use any method, any strategy necessary, whether it was carrots or sticks in the form of coercion, threats, intimidation. He didn't care. That's politics, baby. But the Democratic Party has been castrated by their corporate donors, and they have taken our votes for granted. They think that they're entitled to our votes, even after they do nothing for us. Nah, we're not playing that game anymore. Sorry. Joe Biden would be stupid to run again in 2024. He needs to sit his ass down, take his nap. Take your nap, Joe. Take your nap. Why do you want to run again in 2024? You're ineffective. You are a failure. You have failed the electorate. You have all these people showing up to vote, canvassing on your behalf, ensuring the two Democrats won the Senate runoff races in Georgia because you said it was so important to have that majority in the Senate. And then you turned around and did nothing for the American people. Sit down, don't run again. It would be a massive mistake.
I gotta add up to something.
I hate the Democrats. Let me just be clear about that, okay? Republicans, garbage. This is not an endorsement of what the Republicans are doing. I am furious that the corporate Democratic Party fearmongers about the right wing and then enables them. That is all they do. They enable them day in, day out. I despise these people. They all need to be primaried. They need to sit down, get the hell out of the way, and let actual leaders do the governing. Sorry, Cenk, go ahead.
Yeah, so to build on what Anna was saying, do you remember them saying, hey, if you get us the 2 senators in Georgia, then we'll need 2 more senators. We're not actually gonna do anything. No, you didn't remember that, right? Because they didn't say that. They said, hey, get us the 2 senators in Georgia and we'll have a majority and we'll get you all of your campaign promises. Then as soon as you got them those 2 senators, what did they say? Just kidding, there's another 2 and we need another 2. And by the way, please don't be a schmuck. If you give them 2 more Democratic senators, look, I'll be happy because it's not Republican senators. I mean, we're talking about this much difference at this point. But do you think that's gonna make a difference in actually getting anything passed?
Nope.
Of course not. Then they'll say they need 2 more senators. If you gave them 20 senators, and I'm not exaggerating, if you gave the Democrats 20 more senators, they would say they need 2 more senators.
It's your fault. You're not voting hard enough. It's your fault. The onus is on you. That is what the mainstream Democratic Party is telling its base as we speak.
I'll make a prediction right now, okay? And it's not gonna happen because the Democrats aren't gonna win. But if the Democrats got 2 more seats and had 52 seats in the Senate, the thing that they say that they won, and they kept the House and they kept the White House, do you think they would do voting rights? They would do women's rights, they'd pass a national law to make abortion legal. They would do child tax credit, any of the things that they promised. I got news for you. They wouldn't do a single one of those things. So if you're in the media and you're not talking about how they're lying, you're not really a reporter, you're just filleting them, okay? So here, I'll give you another nonsense quote, because you know what the reporters do is they go and talk to like-minded conservative Democrats, and then they quote them, go, this isn't my opinion. Just everyone I talked to said it's really the voters' problem and not Biden and the powerful people problem. Powerful people are awesome, okay? So they found John Della Volpe, director of the Harvard Youth Poll, hilarious. He said, I think the Gen Z participates in 2022, period. And they can have an even greater impact than anyone considered if this righteous anger is properly channeled through a coordinated and localized strategy to make things right.
Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that. I love that wishful thinking. Yeah, Gen Z is gonna make all the difference by turning up to vote for a party that has given it the middle finger over and over again, that has not delivered on even the most basic agenda items. Let me give you more, okay? This is the part that, this is the disconnect. This is the heart of the debate within the Democratic Party. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted that Democrats cannot make promises, hector people to vote, and then refuse to use our full power, ticking through a list of potential actions the party could take, including moving to expand the Supreme Court, that was shot down by Biden. Opening abortion clinics on federal lands, also shut down by the Biden administration, and repealing the Hyde Amendment. Not even a consideration, not even on their radar. Okay, so there are things they could do. I mean, it's incredible to see the kind of power that Donald Trump was willing to wield versus the power that the Biden administration just leaves on the countertop, walks away, tells you, can't really do much for you. Please vote harder. Please vote harder. Now let's go to the response from people like Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris pushed back on that frustration in front of a room full of donors.
Of course she did. Where else would she be?
Defending Biden's urging to vote in November. She says, quote, I know some people are saying, stop talking to us about the elections, we know. Don't trivialize the significance. We can't afford to. Because Democrats' margins in Congress are razor thin. It doesn't matter if you guys are in the majority, you don't do anything with that power anyway. Now again, I think people should exercise their right to vote, do so in an informed way. But my problem is with the Democratic Party taking our votes for granted, thinking that it's not something they have to work for, it's not something that they have to deliver for, that it's just something that's automatically granted to them because the other side is so terrible and so vicious. Well, the other side is terrible and vicious, and you've done nothing to stop them. So why would anyone feel motivated enough to turn up to vote, knowing full well that you will not deliver the very basic protections and agenda items for the Democratic Party? Come on.
Okay, so I'm just the last couple of things here on what they can do because we're constructive. So AOC came up with a whole list, and then instead of saying, oh, that's a good list, we'll tell you what we can and can't do on that list. And there could be reasons why you can't do a particular proposal, right? No, they turned around and blamed AOC for letting people know that there are actually things that they could do. They're like, shush, what are you doing? People are gonna find out that we don't wanna do anything. Yeah, that's the point. That's the point, okay? Then CNN does a story about how Joe Biden is befuddled. He's like, no, I'm trying to be the anti-Trump. That's why he tried to use his power inside the White House. I'm trying not to use my power. Moron, total utter moron. And he's like, well, I'm sitting here doing nothing. I don't get it. I'm the Democratic president. Everybody should be kissing my ass. And he's like, they had a call. They brought on activists and celebrities. And even the celebrities who are super, not progressives, liberals. Liberals meaning like old school, like, oh, let's do theatrics and not really.
Deborah Messing is a good example.
Yeah, Deborah Messing loves Hillary Clinton, loves Joe Biden, right?
Yep.
And oh no, Bernie Sanders will actually do things. Oh no. We kind of like this. Even they're fed up to hear. Deborah Messing started yelling at them. She's a diehard Hillary Clinton supporter. Started yelling at them on the phone. Wait a minute, why did you guys invite us on this call? I thought we were gonna get an action plan. What is your plan? What is your plan? They're like, oh, we don't have one yet. The leak was 6 weeks ago. And afterwards they're like, oh no, this is why we invited you on the call. Because we want you to share TikTok videos of Biden.
No, it's insane. It really
losers.
CNN wrote a piece on this as well. I gotta read you a few excerpts.
Okay.
Top Democrats complain Biden isn't acting with, or perhaps is not even capable of, the urgency the moment demands. Rudderless, aimless, and hopeless is how one member of Congress described the White House. It gets worse, by the way. So try to follow along with this and not lose your mind. More than a week after the abortion decision, top Biden aides are still wrangling over releasing new actions in response, despite the draft decision leaking 6 weeks earlier. White House counsel Dana Remus had assured senior aides the Supreme Court wouldn't rule on abortion that day. Unbelievable. A White House press aide assigned to the issue was walking to get coffee when the alert hit. They were completely caught off guard. Completely caught off guard. Unbelievable. Negligence, incompetence. Several Democratic leaders privately mocked how the president stood in the foyer of the White House, squinting through his remarks from a teleprompter as demonstrators poured into the streets, making only vague promises of action because he and his aides hadn't decided on more. He is not fit to be president of the United States. Do not run for re-election. I will not vote for him. Just won't. Yeah. Why? What's the point?
I kind of want him to run so we could run a progressive against him and beat him easily. Easily. No one wants this guy. Okay, so
with all the games that the corporate media plays and the mainstream Democratic Party plays, they'll ensure that he's the nominee. They'll ensure it.
Our number one problem is corporate media and the lie on top of lie on top of lie to support obvious losers and idiots that are the corporate Democrats because of their infinite goddamn corruption. Last thing, guys, at least the Politico piece quoted an actual progressive, Amanda Littman, co-founder of Run for Something. She's been on the show. She had a fun quote. She said, they need to get caught trying. Give us a reason to trust you. So finally someone that makes sense because she's younger, she's progressive. And so, well, what could they do? Because whenever I tweet about this on social media, all the older Democrats that watch MSNBC, they're befuddled just like Joe Biden, like, what can you do? I don't understand. What can we do? There's nothing we can do, there isn't the votes. Well, yeah, there's nothing you can do if you're a loser. If you want to put political pressure on people like Lyndon Johnson did, like FDR did, like every effective president of the United States did in a very practical way, you have votes. And then you go, oh, who voted no and who voted yes? Oh, we voted on the filibuster to get rid of the filibuster to get you legalized Roe throughout the country, right? Oh, it turns out Manchin and Sinema voted no. So Manchin and Sinema are the bad guys. Now we apply pressure. Joe Biden's like, what? What? Apply pressure? I don't know what that means. When do I give in to Mitch McConnell?
When's my next nap?
Yeah, dude, just Anna's right. I mean, I want you to run so we can kick your ass, but just go home and take a nap if that's what you wanted. Why did you run? Why did you run? And we all know why, because he has no fire in the belly to get anything done other than Amtrak, okay? Oh, I'm a guy from Scranton and I like to take Amtrak. That's my political theater. Everybody ride it like I'm a normal guy. You've been an insider for 50 goddamn years. Who are you kidding? Yes, corporate media are nonstop liars. Don't believe any of their crap. But Biden didn't have a fire in his belly for a goddamn thing. He ran because of ego.
100%.
Here, I'll decipher it for you guys since the media lies to you. Every politician has a giant outsized ego. They don't give a damn about you. And if they're Democrats, they're never gonna do what they promise because they didn't run for you. They ran for themselves so they could have high status and respect from their friends in Washington. That's what this is about.
Just playing with our lives.